Is this good? I feel like this is good. I'll just do the review from back here.
Yes.
Where the light is best. No. Okay.
Hi.
Hello, the internet. We went and saw the second best Marigold Hotel, which was definitely the second best Marigold Hotel.
It was the second best out of two.
It took the silver.
Yeah. I fucking hated this.
I didn't think it was so bad. Well, we rented the first one yesterday because we knew we were going to come see the sequel today, and it was actually fairly watchable. I enjoyed it very much.
It was very watchable. I don't think I would have enjoyed it in the theater setting, but at home on the couch, it was a cute little, old people movie.
Jackie Cation calls movies like this mingling wrinkles.
Yeah. No, it's very fitting, and it was very watchable and not bad, and pretty for a large cast, well balanced, and good actors.
Maggie Smith stole every goddamn scene she was in.
Yeah, and this one was a larger cast, not nearly as well balanced, with a lot of annoying, goddamn unnecessary scenes in it. So, there was like 18 plots in this movie.
There certainly was. So the plot of the first one is basically there's spastic Dev Patel has decided to open up a hotel in India for old people to go to die, basically. And so a bunch of different... I'm getting like a weird shadow. It's making me look like I have a sideways mustache. A bunch of like
We're
random
filming this in
people
a different car,
from,
by the way.
Yes,
so
that's the reason. Kind of like
we don't have lights up here, so it's a little dimmer. And you don't really care, do you? I mean, I think it's in focus. You just hanging out under the light?
Yes. I'm leaning in because I'm so interested in what you have to say. Yes. So all these old people from Great Britain decide that they're going to go stay at this Marigold Hotel, and
we're just going to just rest your head on that.
Stuff happens.
This is how we're going to do this review.
And they end up Maggie Smith becomes like co-owner or co-manager, what have you, and everyone's happy. And Tom Wilkinson is delightfully gay. And what I noticed about this movie and the first movie is that it exists in like this weird time and place where people only die as long as their plot lines have concluded.
Yes.
So basically, you're immortal as long as you have unfinished business on this earth. But the second you conclude that shit, you're gone. You're dead.
Yeah.
And so in the second one, all these people they're still living at the hotel, and 5 billion things happen.
Oh my god! Yeah, and it's supposedly supposed to take place. At one point, they say it's 8 months later than the first one, and then at the end they mention that it's been a month after the first one, which seems like either I misheard it or someone misread it in the movie or something bad happened in there.
I didn't hear them say that only a month had gone by.
I thought that was in Maggie Smith's final speech. For the past month, I've been co-manager.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, and she...
Yes, I thought that had been like a couple years at least.
In the beginning of the movie, they mentioned something like 8 months.
Though I guess it makes more sense because if it had been a couple years and Bill Nye and Judi Dench had taken that long to fucking shack up, I would have been a little annoyed with those characters.
But I could see 8 months, and it was still annoying. But, I mean, yeah, it's a timeline they hadn't decided on, and... The thing about the first one of these movies it was passable. I don't think it was fantastic, but it was a very passable, watchable little movie. Was that?
Go on.
Yes. The thing they did well was balancing things by picking a couple characters to move to the front, and then pushing a couple characters to the back and having side stories with them that kind of mixed in well. In this one, the main problem with it is that every single character from the first one that's still alive, and then a bunch of new characters that they add in this one, every single one of them has a story arc, and it's apparent because it was 2.5 hours long and goddamn insufferably boring.
I felt like they were trying to almost do sort of a Bollywood thing, because I have noticed that about Bollywood movies, is that they're very plot-dense in that sense, but interspersed with random dance sequences. And this movie was that, because they're preparing for Dev Patel and his fiance's wedding, and apparently part of this process is they have to choreograph several dance sequences for each event of the wedding, and I enjoy that as a concept, and I think that we should talk Irving into doing that for his wedding, but it kind of broke up the pacing of the movie in such a way that it made it even more jarring when so much stuff was happening to every single person, because it's like this and this and this and this and this dance sequence.
Well, and not only that, it's one of those things that I find annoying, and it seems to every movie that takes place in India made by white people still has to have a fucking dance sequence in it. Mm-hmm. And the first one of these movies did not have a dance sequence in it, and I was very thankful for that. And this one had like 4, and they were lavish and extravagant and made no sense in the timing or plot of the movie, because, hey, this character says, I promise I'll learn this whole elaborate dance in the 4 hours I've got to do it, and then does it perfectly. Flawlessly. And then also, this big plot change at the end. Fuck it. Most of you aren't going to go see it, so like everything else, I'm going to ruin it right now. Half the plot revolves around Dev Patel wanting to buy a second hotel to expand their operations and then getting cock-blocked left and right. And at the end, he buys what was the expats club and turns that into a hotel.
But let's say cock-blocked by the smarmiest fucking India. I don't know if we were supposed to, like, not believe that guy was pure evil, but everything about, like, it seemed like the lesson that Dev Patel was supposed to learn at the end was like, oh, this guy's not so bad, I'm still not going to team up with him.
He was a douchebag.
He was a flaming douchebag, and just because his fiance wasn't attracted to him, it turned out at the end, doesn't mean that he didn't have hands all over his goddamn fiance, which shows, like, a distinct lack of respect that you're not looking for in a goddamn business partner. But I digress.
But anyway, at the end, he buys this other hotel and moves his wedding reception from the hotel he already owned to the new one. In a matter of hours, gets it set up to the most lavish wedding I've seen, with all these lights and fireworks.
Still had the setup from the reception dinner, because there's all like the lights.
Oh no, there was much more, and the reception dinner was at the other. Yeah, there was more, like balcony, awnings, stereo system, fucking fireworks. Mm-hmm. And somewhere in that, like, less than 24 hours, he had time to make a brand new, spanking, beautifully painted sign for the hotel.
I think that...
I am willing to suspend disbelief for a lot of things in movies.
No, you're not.
I am. If the movie calls for it, but when you have something that glaring in a movie that I'm already bored by, and then you give me something that's a big, massive time problem for me, then my brain clicks and goes, no, fuck you, you're lying.
See, that bit I could buy, because Dev Patel's character was so fucking theatrical and over the top. I could buy him having this idea and then setting it up in that short amount of time with his, 5 billion random builder friends and cousins.
Also, he has no money. And I don't know. It's just... The movie was, like, everyone in the movie was great. All the acting, and with the cast in it, you can't expect bad acting. All the acting's great. Mm-hmm. But there's too much going on. There's too many plots and too many storylines happening, and they don't weave that well, and quite frankly, 2/3 of them were completely unnecessary.
I feel like a lot of...
The cramming in of Richard Gere's character and giving him and Dev Patel's mom a whole arc, so unnecessary.
I feel like a lot of the separate unnecessary plots, like the Richard Gere one you referred to and the one with the beardy guy and his trollop girlfriend, were, like, there specifically to have the moral old people have sex, too. And, like, yeah, on the one hand, yes, they certainly do, and good on them for doing so, but this is not, new news or something that needs to be,
old people
addressed
great.
as, this huge revelation, I feel like there's a more respectful way to illustrate that, yes, when you reach a certain age, you continue being a person, rather than being like... Old people having sex! Old people having sex! This is the majority of their character plot. Character arc.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's that storyline, the old dude storyline, the pervy older lady storyline. Mm-hmm. those three can become background storylines, and you can still have them, but they don't need to be so big. Because old pervy dude gets 2 storylines. Accidentally puts a hit out on his girlfriend.
Thinks he accidentally puts a hit out on his girlfriend, and then turns out that his girlfriend isn't so much into monogamy, which that one didn't really get concluded.
No, not at all. It's
just kind of, you know, she says, oh yeah, I'm having like a bunch of affairs, but I'm willing to try monogamy, and then that's the end of the conversation, and we never see those characters again.
The storylines they should have focused on were the main storyline that continues from the first one, the Bill Nighy and Judi Dench storyline.
Which I'm still so annoyed that they weren't together at the beginning of the movie. Because they look like they're together at the end of the first movie. So it's like, to add on to their stories.
They needed more plot, is what they did. They
backed their relationship up so they could pretend to move it forward again.
Yeah, and then the Dev Patel wedding storyline, which...
Yeah, I could have done without one.
I could have done without it too, but, like, that ties more into, like, that one made sense to me as being one of the major ones as opposed to the other ones.
It made sense as a major one, but I didn't care.
No, neither did I, and I thought Dev Patel was the best part of the movie because that character has so much goddamn unnecessary energy that it's distracting from the boringness of the rest of it.
But that's what I like about that character, and them cramming him into this plot where he loses all of his self-confidence and pizzazz. It's like it saps the thing I like about that character.
Because that character is nothing but self-confidence and pizzazz.
Mm-hmm, and that's his main flaw. So trying to act like his other main flaw is not having self-confidence and pizzazz, it detracts from the character.
Yeah. And then the Maggie Smith character arc, which at the end of the first one, that was what I strongly didn't like about the first one, because she started the first one as like
racist
the most
as shit.
Horrible, bitter racist imaginable, and then just at the end she's like, I like brown people now.
Mm-hmm. Well, she made friends with the little sweeping girl.
Yeah, but it wasn't
the untouchable.
But there wasn't enough there to warrant that much of a change.
Well, see, I gotta argue with you on this, because you can't say you liked the first one because they moved a lot of the story arcs into kind of the background and only briefly touched on them, and then say that you're mad that they only briefly touched on a storyline.
Well, no, it's not that I'm mad that they briefly touched on it. It's just that there's that much of a drastic change. Like, you're into it.
I don't think it was a drastic change. I just think they didn't show it very much. You know, they'd cut back to her and she's making friends with the sleeping girl. And cut back to her and she's introducing herself to the sleeping girl's family. And then they cut back to her and she's fine with brown people.
Yeah. But then in this one, she's moved up to a main character, and she has the most. She's suddenly the wise old woman now, instead of the embittered old hag. Which, all right, fine, it's Maggie Smith. I like Maggie Smith.
She's Weeza in Steel Magnolias.
Yeah, but throughout the whole movie, you're getting the impression that she's dying.
Which, again, they didn't...
They didn't end the fucking thing!
No, she just kind of, like, wanders off like she's gonna...
Like,
will herself
these
to
characters
death.
Are so important to her. Mm-hmm. And then just bombs off on their wedding and shit to go to this hotel and die by herself. But the next morning, she's fucking alive.
And then, again... you can't... It's this weird universe where you can just go off and die.
Yeah.
Because, I'm done with my shit. Cack.
Like Tom Wilkinson in the first one.
Like Tom Wilkinson in the first one.
And he was, in my opinion, the most interesting character in the first one, because you're like, all right, here's this proper British judge guy, and you're like, okay, which one of these is going to hook up? And then it's like, oh, he's gay? Awesome. Good for him. Like, good for him. Awesome. And then he meets up with his childhood love, and they have a conversation. And he goes back and tells Judi Dench about it, and she goes to get a drink of water, and he's just fucking dead. Just fucking dead. That's my ghost ascending to heaven, because I finished up all my stuff. And like a swinging bench, no less. Just fucking dead.
Mm-hmm. That's my problem with The Notebook. I hate to just change subjects, but like, have you ever seen The Notebook? Erin made me watch it, because it's one of her favorite movies, and boy, did I hate it with a fiery passion. Because, I mean, like, yeah, the Ryan Reynolds,
Gosling.
The Ryan Gosling stuff is obnoxious and borderline rapey, but my least favorite part is at the very, very end of the movie when the guy just wills himself to death, which is not how life works. How life works is, yeah, this wife that you're completely in love with dies, and you lay down like, okay, now I'm gonna die too. And then a couple hours pass, and you're like, fuck, that didn't work, and you go on with your life.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if, like, maybe in retrospect, that's what they were trying to do with Maggie Smith, because she didn't actually die at the end. So
no, she looked fine.
Maybe she laid down because she was trying to will herself to death, and it didn't work. So she was sitting up and thinking, like, oh, okay, well, now what?
Yeah. Oh, these two people that are really important to me, I just completely bailed on, like, the biggest night of their life, because I'm a selfish little cunt.
She was tired, okay? when you're old... Judi Dench said she was 79.
The party was at another hotel. She could have taken a nap in one of the rooms there.
I feel like you're allowed to bomb out on a wedding if you're old and sleepy. That is an acceptable excuse.
Fine. It's acceptable. But it's just one of those things. It's like, the first one was fine because it compacted things and it kept it kind of, like, I can't say light, but it kept it at a pace that was manageable, and it kept the important things at the front and put everything else in the background, but gave it just enough to, like, warrant it being there. And this, there's too much happening. Mm. And
I'm sorry we keep retreading the same point, but that was the main problem with this movie, and it's hard.
Because I can't say it was a terrible movie. It wasn't terrible, but it's just.
And we can get into all the different plots that happened. It'd take a goddamn hour and a half, but it would just be illustrating that there's too many of them. And that is the main problem with this movie.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
And they're boring. Most of them are boring.
Yeah.
Even the ones about old people doing it, they're just boring.
Well, and that's its biggest problem, because what I'm finding with myself, at least, is we see a movie, at least one movie every week now. Mm-hmm. Every week. We're averaging 50-plus movies a year. Each of us is. And for me, anymore, the biggest sin for a movie is that it's boring. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem with this. It's like a bad movie, as long as it's entertaining, at least it was entertaining. That was time well spent to be entertained. This was not entertaining. It was boring as hell. Mm-hmm. And has... The other thing about these movies that it's starting to drive me crazy, it's just sloppy storytelling. Yeah,
well, because, like, I was just thinking, even the plots that they moved to the forefront seemed like they could have just been background plots. Like, the one in particular I'm thinking of is, like, the Blanche lady.
Yeah.
She's looking for, like, a rich husband, and the entirety of her plot is she's got two guys on the hook. She can't decide between them, and then falls in love with her limo driver. That's the entirety of her story. So, the way they explain this is every fucking 5 minutes in this movie, they cut to her being driven by her limo driver. He's like, left or right, missus? And she's like, left. And they cut back, and she's like, left or right, missus? She's like, I don't know, right. Left or right, missus? Why don't we go to your place?
Yeah, and it's just... It was unnecessary, and I think the reason that, like, she and Beardy Old Man in the first one, like, they did a good job of taking their two stories and kind of pushing them together to where they worked it. Like, they didn't end up together, which was fine and good, and I didn't expect that, so that was even better. But they had those two characters kind of together, so that was one story instead of two stories happening, you know? And this one, they each have, every character has a goddamn arc. And then they bring back a character from the first one that had left halfway through the first movie, you know.
You're talking about Harold's wife?
Yeah. Yeah, that character that left before the end of the first movie, but...
Douglas's wife.
Yeah, Douglas.
Bill Nighy's wife.
Bill Nighy's wife. But that character...
Mrs. Shaun of the Dead.
She comes back for absolutely no fucking reason.
She came back so I can remember how much I hated her goddamn character.
Yeah. Comes back for absolutely no reason, and then they add in Richard Gere for absolutely no reason. Like, yeah, okay, that drives a little bit of the plot.
Because he's handsome and old.
Yeah. That drives a little bit of the plot a little bit, but not to the extent that he warrants 45 minutes of fucking screen time.
Yeah, Bill Nighy's wife in the first one is such a heinous character and like this embittered ball of negativity that in the first 5 minutes I'm like, oh, he's gonna leave her and end up with Judi Dench, and you didn't believe me, but that's what happened.
I thought Judi Dench was gonna hook up with Tom Wilkinson until he's like, I'm gay, and then it's like, right on, good for you, buddy.
Yeah, it was unexpected and it was interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel like my final thought is watch the first one, give it a rent. It's fun. It's old people kicking around India.
I don't know that I would even spend money on renting it. I mean, it'll pop up again on Netflix, or it'll be on demand for free or something. Watch it then, or if...
Yeah, if it pops up on Netflix, watch it.
Yeah,
I don't know, I spent $30. I spent $3. I didn't consider it money wasted. But don't watch this one.
It's a cute little movie, and if it's something that interests you... It was nominated for Best Picture for a Golden Globe when it came out. Judi Dench was nominated for Best Actress that year because of it, for, I think, just a Golden Globe, but... It's not a bad movie. This one is... I can't say it's bad, but I found it fucking insufferable. Mm-hmm. Like, I technically can't say, oh, this was a bad movie, but I hated every minute of being in that theater. Not only... And just because it was the theater, too. You guys want to hear a story that makes me sound like an 80-year-old man? Not that you don't hear me bitch enough. So we're in the theater.
Tell us a story, Grandpa Dave.
Yeah, okay. We're in the theater... And, like, the previews start, and it was so ungodly fucking loud.
See, because I thought that they had the volume loud because they figured it'd be all oldies, and in their defense...
And it was.
We were, like, the only people under 70 in that theater.
But it was so loud that the noise was... it was starting to distort a little bit. So imagine being in a theater, a movie theater, with a good sound system, and it's loud enough that the sound is starting to distort, and it's actually painful to sit there.
See, that didn't bother me because some of my most loved people are very hard of hearing, so I'm kind of used to it.
It was really loud. So I actually had to stand up, go out of the theater, and ask the manager to turn the volume down.
And then also to get off your lawn.
Yes. Goddamn kids, get off my lawn, turn down that fucking rock and roll music.
Turn down that fucking rock and roll movie.
And he did, like, to his credit, he did turn it down and go, yeah, that theater's really loud. While kind of shaking his head like, what the fuck? So that was my 80-year-old man moment of the week.
My 80-year-old woman moment is I lost my earmuffs and I made the little theater guy come and help me find them. I found them.
Movie turned us into old people.
In my defense, I'm always an old person because I'm leaving shit behind all the time.
Yeah. You are.
I sure am. It's part of my charm.
You want to do trailers real
quick? Yes, I'm so cold. I'm sorry to cut it short, you guys. Can you see that? Because I'm freezing. Okay.
It's cold out here.
Women in Gold.
Oh, that was the one I missed.
You missed because you were outside, but it's the one where like
bitching at the theater.
The ladies had like the clipped, but then it got stolen during Nazi Germany, and so she's like,
I got that. I've gotten that trailer before. Yeah, the Helen Mirren art movie.
Yeah.
With Ryan Reynolds, which I'm somewhat interested in because
it looks like fun. And it's an art movie, so it seems like it's up your alley.
It's an art movie, and I like Helen Mirren's fucking awesome.
She sure is. Of Brian Wilson. Did you see that one?
I saw the back end of that. What was that about? Brian Wilson?
Yeah, it was.
Who's playing fucking Brian Wilson in it?
John Cusack's playing old Brian Wilson, and something Dano.
Paul Dano.
Paul Dano is playing young Brian Wilson. Because I wanted to Google him after I got out because he looked familiar, but I couldn't place him. Because I'm a flake. But then I forgot. What would I know him from?
Well, There Will Be Blood.
The way I remembered his last name is because Bookham Dano. So I knew him from Bookham Dano.
Little Miss Sunshine.
Oh, okay, I've seen that.
Blood. Yeah, he's the older brother in Little Miss Sunshine.
I'll Google him later. Or you can tell me straight.
Cusack is Brian Wilson.
They pulled his hairline back. I don't know if they tweezed it or gave him a prosthetic or what, but it's like, it looks like those paintings of 12-year-old girls in like 14th century where they tweezed their hairlines back.
Well, that's the thing that's Cusack's hairline now.
No, it's like perfectly round though. It's really peculiar.
Like round back here?
Yeah, like the hair, like a round lady hairline, just further back. Like he tweezed it. You know the pictures.
But Brian Wilson doesn't have that hairline.
It's really peculiar.
Brian Wilson doesn't have that hairline at all. He's actually, like, the last picture I saw him, he has all his hair. And
so maybe John Cusack is just going bald peculiarly, and they decided to stick with it.
Possibility. Cusack looks nothing like Brian Wilson. I could see Paul Dano as a young Brian Wilson if he put on like 50 pounds, but Cusack, really?
Cool.
Fucking odd casting. I usually love me some Cusack, but I don't know how I feel about that.
It looked interesting, and I do like...
The Beach Boys, a fantastic band.
I do like Bookham Dano.
God Only Knows is the most beautiful love song ever written, I think. But yeah.
God Only Knows is pretty. I like Wouldn't It Be Nice If We Were Older, except that the movie 50 First Dates has kind of ruined that song for me. Because the poor Adam Sandler is just singing it and weeping at the top of his lungs.
Not to sound like every fucking person ever, but Pet Sounds is one of the best albums ever, so...
I concur.
Yeah.
That's one of the first albums that I bought with my own money. That's the reason I know all the words to Soup John B.
Ah.
Okay. Wait, was Soup John B on Pet Sounds? Or was
No,
it on one of different
I don't
albums?
think so. I'm not entirely... No, it wasn't.
I'll Google it later.
Good Vibrations was on Pet Sounds.
I had the one with the Green album. It was like, I was so young. It was one of those things where they had
It's got them feeding like sheep at a petting zoo on the front.
Yes.
Okay.
So maybe I had Soup John B have something else. It was one of those things.
I could be wrong too.
Do you remember Children when you could buy like 11 CDs for a penny and then they start charging you for CDs they send you in the mail until your mother calls them and yells at them? That's how I ended up with Pet Sounds.
Yeah, well.
Okay, so I didn't catch the actual name of it, but Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, it's called Mr. Holmes.
Okay.
That
looked good.
That trailer actually premiered yesterday online, and everyone ignored it because the new Avengers trailer came out too. But Sir Ian McKellen playing an old retired Sherlock Holmes.
Old retired going...
slightly senile Sherlock Holmes. I'm fucking down. And I hope it's really good because there's a lot of movies I'm looking forward to this year, but it's about time Sir Ian fucking McKellen wins an Oscar. So I'm just hoping it's really good so he can win an Oscar. Mm-hmm. Because even if it's the fucking pity Oscar, the man deserves it by now.
I concur. Has he ever been nominated?
Yes. Gods and Monsters.
Little Boy.
Fuck, I'm not talking about that goddamn trailer again. Brad and I will see it when it comes to town because it's about fucking Jesus, and that's it. I'm not talking about it
I still don't
anymore.
think that looks like a Jesus movie.
It's a Jesus movie. It's the producers of God's Not Dead.
Oh, man.
I think God's Not Dead or Son of God or something.
Could I feel the same way about that movie that I did about that Old Fashioned when Brad was describing it to me? That, like, just if you take the premise and have someone competent and not Jesus-y make it, just as, like, an interesting idea, it sounds like it would be really good.
I will tell you, from everything Brad told me about Old Fashioned last night in the car, nothing about that sounds like a good concept.
Okay, the way he outlined the premise to me before he went and saw it was that a guy meets a girl and tries to court her in an old-fashioned way in a modern world. And if you just take it off of that premise, you can make an interesting movie out of it.
That premise?
Especially if you take old-fashioned to mean, you could mean like 50 goats as a dowry, or a virginity test.
Or a hand job.
Or a hand job.
But no.
I figured.
No. That's not the premise of the movie.
No, he told me about it, because apparently it's all like him testing her out as a baby maker.
That and... You'll have to watch Brad's review when I'm sitting there questioning about it. But basically the concept of the movie was, he's the guy who did Girls Gone Wild. Only in his universe, Girls Gone Wild, all the girls are crying. And then he retires.
So he's filming the souls of the girls.
Yeah, and he retires to become a furniture maker because, our Lord Jesus Christ was a fucking carpenter.
After he made Girls Gone Wild videos.
And this free spirit hippie girl moves into the apartment above his shop, which he is the landlord of. But he refuses to be alone in a room with a woman at any time. So anytime something in her apartment breaks, he makes her stand outside in the fucking cold while he fixes her shit, and this endears him to her.
Daddy issues.
Yeah. Oh, apparently she is actually when she first appears in the movie, she has a broken arm because she escaped an abusive relationship.
Oh, man.
No, it's worse than it sounds.
Okay, oh, Monkey Kingdom.
Oh, the Disney thing?
That looked so cute.
It looks cute, but...
I felt ridiculous, but like I was suppressing the urge to go, monkeys!
It's not...
That monkey is a baby monkey! That monkey's giving another monkey a hug!
Yeah, and but part of me is just like...
That monkey's climbing a street pole.
What happens where these monkeys leave this idyllic, like, jungle setting and have to go to a town?
It's like Make Way for Ducklings, but Make Way for Monkeys.
Yeah, and I want to know, it's like... With that premise, is it a documentary? Or is it just like Disney trained a shit ton of monkeys? Or what's going on there completely is what I want to know.
I feel like it's probably like a monkey version of Meerkat Manor, where they took a documentary and then used editing to make there be a plot. Only probably with less baby meerkat death.
I hope so. Meerkat Manor was fucking dark.
Meerkat Manor was fantastic.
All right, anyway.
But this is that with monkeys?
Yes, monkeys.
And they're hugging, and the one monkey jumps off a cliff, and he just does a belly flap in the water.
Yeah.
The one monkey has like a Mo Howard bowl cut.
That's the mama monkey.
She's the best monkey. Aloha.
Ah, yes, Cameron fucking Crowe. What happened to Cameron Crowe? Like, seriously, I used to look forward to Cameron Crowe movies, and now I see trailers for Cameron Crowe movies, and I'm like, oh, middle-aged dude, girl slightly too young for him, cute child, weird predicament, older wise guy. Cameron Crowe.
Yes, but John Krasinski.
John Krasinski, who I dig, and Bill Murray, who I dig, and Bradley Cooper, who's great. And every actor in that movie, fantastic. But you know what? Looks like boring shit.
Looks like too much plot.
It probably is. Well, actually, that's one thing I'll give Cameron Crowe. His movies are usually pretty tightly written. Like, I think he's still a good writer. It's just, it's beginning to be basically the same story over and over again. And the other thing, the marketing in this movie, the writer and director of Jerry Maguire, that movie is like 15 fucking years old. He's made like 8 movies since that. And that's what they're promoting with.
Yep.
Like, why not the writer and director of We Bought a Zoo? Also, it's called Aloha. When did the man stop being able to give movies good titles?
It's in Hawaii. I'll be honest, I'm still thinking about monkeys.
Yeah, I know.
I'm going to be thinking about monkeys
it's twinkling in your
for the
eyes.
rest of the review. There's a picture of those monkeys just monkeying around. The Longest Ride. Yeah, that's that Nicholas Sparks one. I don't even have to worry about because that's you and Brian.
Yeah, that's me and Brian. Yeah, that'll be uniquely awful. And in this,
it's like 2 Nicholas Sparks movies in one.
Yeah. Well, I spent the whole trailer this time trying to figure out, because I've gotten that trailer a few times. I spent the whole trailer this time figuring out how old Alan Alda's supposed to be in this movie.
Well, because he wrote the letter in 1940, which means he would have had to be at least 18 since he was going to war.
Well, and the actor that's playing the young Alan Alda looks about 30. But I'm thinking probably supposed to be around
50, 60, 70, 80, 90, aught. 10, so that's 70 plus 30, so 100 years old. And he was still driving, so good for him.
Yeah.
Old people can still do it!
So Alan Alda's supposed to be, I'm going to say somewhere between 90 and 100.
Yes.
In World War II veteran, somewhere between 90 and 100. Unless this movie's a period piece, which I don't think it is.
It's a period piece from the 1980s, when people still wore jeans and cowboy hats. That's the one that Ryan calls the longest preview.
It's painful.
And then Far from the Maddening Crowd, which I'm assured is based on a Thomas Hardy book. That's not really...
That trailer, it has Michael Sheen in it, but nothing else interesting.
It looks like if the BBC made it as a miniseries, I'd watch it 12 times. So probably I'll enjoy it, but I've never read that book.
It's that whole Victorian England period kind of thing that I've never been interested in.
See, I dig that.
Like, I love the great classic literature and stuff. Like, but all those, everybody's like, oh, you like this? You should really read Jane Eyre. And it's like... I
fucking don't read Jane Eyre.
I tried once. I got like 10 pages into it and went, I don't give a fuck.
The thing is, like, I mentioned the BBC miniseries because the Colin Firth, Pride and Prejudice, fucking fantastic. I tried to read Pride and Prejudice. I fell asleep 5 times.
Tried to read that too. Great Expectations. Fucking hate that book. Anything by Charles Dickens, I fucking hate. I understand that the man was one of the greatest literary minds of all time. I can't stand his writing.
From what I can recall, it's very dry, and he writes women like idiotic, soggy cardboard cutouts.
Yeah. I mean, at least Oscar Wilde was, like, witty and bitchy and gay. Fucking...
Colin Firth and The Importance of Being Earnest.
Yeah. But fucking, yeah, no interest in that, and I'm sure Brad's gonna make you go
I'm sure it'll
that.
be me, it'll just be whoever I can end up dragging to go see it with me.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
But it does mean that I have to read the book first, which I'm not looking forward to. I'll listen to it on Audible at 1.5 times speed.
Yes.
Oh, I got to the end of Gone Girl. I had like 3 hours left to book and 1.5 hours left to read it in. So like beep, 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 beep.
All right.
Somehow makes it more hilarious when it's being read in a high-pitched, fast voice.
All right, so I'm done talking. I'm fucking cold.
Yeah, it is freezing out here. Next week, I have no idea, but that monkey movie, I'm seeing the shit out of. I don't care if it's a kid's movie, I'll pretend there's a book written about it.
Monkeys!
Brad, have you ever read Monkey Kingdom by Thomas Hardy?
Alright, that's it.
About monkeys in the Industrial Revolution.
I know, monkeys.